Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have I don't really know what to call this. I guess a pre-restoration video to show how this engine arrived in. So as you can see here, this is a Key Brass. It's made by Samhongsa, New York Central L2a. Now, New York Central had a whole bunch of Mohawk classes from L1 to L4, and each of those had subclasses from L1A to L1, I think L1D maybe? Anyways, yeah, so they go from both numerical and alphabetical order. So like L1A, L1B, L1C, etc., and then L2A, L2B, L2C, etc. This is the L2A variety. And from what I know, this is the only variety with the top-mounted feed water heater. So this looks very similar to their H10 class. And if you guys don't know, this is actually the type of Mohawk that the Lionel used for their New York Mohawk water level route set thing. It was a pretty common set, pretty popular set by Lionel. And I remember when I was a child, I'd look through the Lionel catalogs and look at all their steam engines, and their water level set Mohawk was one of the ones that were just always, it just looked stunning to me, and it just looked so beautiful. And the thing is, in HO they never made any of these. They've made the L4D, which is the kind with that looks like a Niagara with the front, and then there's like two smoke deflectors on the side. But that one just never had the appeal to me as much as the L2A did. The MTH also made some Mohawks that looked like, I think they made like the L3A and some other varieties. I forgot, like L3C. They made like three varieties, and um, those are also cool, but they just kind of just look like the New York Central Hudsons that were just expanded, whereas this just has that very unique look that looks like nothing else, maybe except besides the H10. And actually, the Boston Albany had the A1 class, which looks pretty similar actually. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, I tried to find one of these in HO, and turns out there's only one maker, and that is Key Brass. Key is the importer. Samhongsa is the company who made it. I believe it's from Japan. I'm not really sure. Maybe Korea, but I think it's Japan because their stuff is very high, very well known. And yeah, so they've made them, but they only made very few of them. In fact, these go for about $1,200 unpainted, and painted professionally, about maybe factory painted, is 1,800, around there. And very few are sold. And so I'm very excited to see this. Now, as you can see, this is in very, I guess, cosmetically rough condition. It is. I just received it this morning, and it was, let me tell you, it was the most poorly packaged engine I've ever seen. Um, I'll actually post the unboxing video. It's kind of a mess because I had some camera issues, or I guess phone camera issues. But yeah, I'll post that. But just to show you how poorly packaged it was. But anyways, so this is the cosmetic condition. I just want to show you all the issues. I've given itself a pretty good look over to see all the issues wrong with it. But this is basically how it looks as it arrived. So let's begin. Um, First off, the body kind of sits kind of wonky. I don't know if you can see that movement, but it kind of moves. It's loose. That's a minor issue. This pilot here is bent. I'm going to list all the small issues as well as the large issues. So here's a small issue. This pilot, as you can see, this piece here is bent. These handrails don't go into any sockets, which should be in there. This marker light is severely twisted. As you can see, they should look like this, but this one's all sideways and also bent. This ladder is make it missing a piece. I don't know if you can see that. Like, this outside is nice, but the inside is just bent to hell. It doesn't even touch the pilot here. As you can see, it kind of just floats above it. This other side's also in a very similar state. I think the entire pilot's bent downward, or something like that. Maybe it has to be seated a little further. Yeah, so that's the front. It's also missing the leading truck. I'll have to find a replacement for that. Yeah, and then if we scroll to the side, fortunately all the brake rigging is there, because that tends to break off. It is plastic after all there. Everything else on here is brass, by the way. So The wheels are actually surprisingly in good condition. As you can see, there's no any wear. Usually you'd see them run, wear out. You'd start seeing the brass, but this seems fine. And the bottom is actually painted very well. So this leads me to believe this is factory painted. It was factory painted, or say, until some guy had to weather it and make it look like this. But oh well. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the sides and front. And then the issue that wasn't really shown in the photos, and which means it was clearly derived from shipping damages, was this piece here. So this piece, I had to take some time to figure out. It's actually meant to belong up here. I forgot what this is called, but this is basically how it's like the wind deflector kind of thing, where like the wind blows and then it pushes it upwards. This last little bit. So this part broke off. I guess I could glue this, but I want to solder it, but that I don't know. I'm not really good at soldering brass engines. Like I'm great at soldering wires and stuff, but soldering a brass engine is something that I generally try to avoid. And something like this, where it's very noticeable if there's any solder, spare solder around. I'm not really sure how I'll do that. I'll probably try to solder it, but if not, I'll just glue it. But that is one pretty big issue. As you can see, it's a minor thing, but like also at the same time, it's really hard to fix. So I don't know. I'll see about that. One thing to note is that this thing has the what do you call it? Like a crap. What is it called? Free rolling gearbox. I forgot what it's called, but there's a name for it. Basically, the wheels can turn freely, and so usually if the wheels are turned freely, it's a sign that the gears aren't engaging or you have a cracked gear, a split gear, more commonly referred to as. But in this case, this is one of those special gearboxes where basically, if the motor spins, this is obviously powered, but also it's also when it's unpowered, it spins freely. So this is actually really great for like if you're double heading, for example. And if you have both engines that don't have free spinning gearboxes, and they're double heading and one goes faster than the other, there's going to be more wheel wear and gear wear, and you're stalling a motor when you do that. But in this case, this engine basically can just go freely, and that's what's kind of really nice about it. I've always wanted to own one of these, and these usually tend to appear in very expensive brass engines, so I'm glad I finally got one of these. But yeah, so pretty cool. I'm still kind of amazed by that. And just to note, this thing is just filled with detail, as you can see. Now, the weathering may not be good, but one thing it will do is it shows you how much detail there is. I mean, there's so much brass piping and everything going around here. There's this really weird looking box I really like. I think it's kind of interesting. Also has a square stand dome. But yeah, the amount of detail on this thing is absolutely gorgeous, and it's insane. So yeah, anyways, we go to the cab. There's nothing really else wrong with this. There's the kind of bent out of shape drawbar, and then here's this piece. I think this is the tender light. I'm not really sure. I haven't checked yet. That actually makes me wonder, is there a headlight? There is a headlight. Okay, that's cool. There's a tiny little incandescent bulb in there. I'll remove that, and eventually, once I get this thing finally restored, it will have DCC sound, and it'll have obviously lights in the front and back. But in the meantime, see inside here is also a whole lot of detail in the back. The fact that there's a back head detail means that there's also a CAN motor inside here, which is pretty obvious for such an expensive engine. Some guy tried to put a crew figure on the left, but I think the one on the right fell off. But yeah, that's kind of poorly glued in there, so I'll probably remove that. And that's pretty much it for the engine. Now if we move up to the tender, oh yeah, and then here's the trailing truck. So this screw also kind of fell loose in the shipping, but that's okay. And there actually is damage on this. So what's interesting is you can see the power booster. I think it's called, it's like a booster engine that's on the trailing truck. So basically, this is an engine that powers a single truck. And the idea of this in the prototype is that with this single wheel powered, it kind of helps. Like this, obviously, it can't go fast. So this is not for like making the engine go faster, but this is for starting the engine, for starting a long train. This really helps. It's a little booster that boosts the rear wheel. As you can tell, this rear wheel is actually supporting the firebox, so there's a lot of weight placed on this wheel. And so with this wheel powered, it provides a lot more tractive effort, which is pretty cool. You can see that motor here. However, you can see that the exhaust for the motor, you see that there's one here, but this should be mirrored on this side somewhat. But I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of broken off. You can see the bare brass right there, so that's not good. But anyways, yeah, so there should be a similar thing right here. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about this. I might be able to find another trailing truck from Precision Scale Co., but that'll probably cost me like 20 bucks, maybe even more. And also, I guess I could form one out of brass, but that's a pain. I'll see what I can do about this. It's not really a big deal. You don't really see that too often, I guess. I might actually be able to get one trailing truck. I don't know. Anyways, so this will be a tough fix. But yeah, okay. So now moving on to the tender. Here's just a screw for the trailing truck. Yeah. So here's the tender. Pretty bog standard tender for New York Central. Again, the really questionable weathering there. But anyways. Now down below you can see the speaker housing, the speaker holes. There is no speaker inside, not that I can see. I can see wires in there, but I think that's just for the lighting, the rear light. The wheels again look very clean, so it kind of, I suspect that this has been sitting on a shelf often and not really actually run. In the rear here you can see all this detail again. There's the ladder. There's the I don't know what these are called. Probably this is probably the marker light wiring, and there's like a signal antenna that goes to this box here, which I think is just kind of awesome. It just kind of comes down, and obviously the grab irons, and then the uncoupling lever, which obviously moves. Yeah, and then on top you can see again that signal box. I'm assuming the water fill hatch. I'm not really sure what this is, and then this thing here. Again, not really sure what that is. It might actually have something to do with the track pan fill-up system. You can see this thing down here. They go to the brake cylinders, and then on top, which I found was really cool, was you can actually see the stoker. I don't know what this is called, the screw, I guess. Like the screw, this thing basically spins and it basically feeds coal mechanically into the firebox. See, in the late stages of building steam engines, they realized that a person couldn't shovel all the coal possible to fire an engine. So they literally had a machine do it. So it just constantly feed coal at a huge rate into the firebox. Because again, so like back then, far back then, they'd have people do it, but it quickly turned out that humans couldn't handle the amount of coal needed to power these massive engines. So yeah. Anyways, so one thing I didn't note actually. So the only damage I've seen here, which thank God, like I'm surprised that none of this stuff broke off. It really shows how well these are built by Key Brass or Samhongsa. But anyways, one thing to note is that there is this missing marker light that should be on the other side, but you can see there's only one here. I'm not sure this is powered. It's probably not. From what I can tell, this is separately added. I think the original owner added it because, well, here's the reason why. So one, it's still perfectly black, so it feels like they added it later. It's also, yeah, so missing from here. Also, I don't see any mounts on here. Like, it doesn't look like it's soldered. It looks like it was glued, so it kind of looks, again, another sign. And the biggest sign, the biggest giveaway is that you can see these brackets here. This is actually where the marker lights should be. And so when you have a marker light sitting on top here, which is kind of unusual, it's definitely not original, because if they were added it by the factory, it'd be mounted here. So yeah, which also kind of makes me question if the marker light in the front here was separately added. I don't think so. I think these were actually from the factory, but we'll see. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this engine. It's not really a showcase. It's more like I guess unboxing and whatnot, showing the pre-restoration damage. There's going to be a lot to work on. I'm going to try to somehow strip the paint or strip the weathering. I'm not sure. There's a very slight chance, and I've had this happen before, where the weathering paint comes off much easier than the factory applied paint. So there might be a chance I can do that. It's very unlikely though. I'll probably have to strip the entire engine, which is going to be unfortunate. I think I'm going to leave the weathering on for the meantime. I'm going to leave the weathering until I decide to finally repaint this engine, and then I'll just strip it and then repaint it, instead of stripping it and then leaving it stripped for like a few months and then finally painting it in the future. Yeah, but this is definitely going to be a prized collection in my a prized piece in my collection. Because it's so rare, and I'm so glad I found it. I don't know if I mentioned this. I paid $280 for this, plus like $10 shipping or whatever. $280 for a $1,200 engine unpainted is a steal in my opinion. Although there's definitely, as you see, a lot of work needed to restore this engine. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm actually looking quite forward to working on this engine. But I have to finish my finals for college first. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.